What's up, True Crime World? You're here with Luminol on the Wall. I'm Becky.
And I'm Bevy. On today's case, we're going to talk about a codependent child who makes unspeakable choices, all for the name of grief. This is the case of Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy. Listeners' discretion is advised.
What is going on, our true crime family?
Hey guys.
Hey, Bev, how's it going?
Super
duper duper.
Yeah, we have a tradition in this household on podcasting nights. Lemonade.
Little Mio.
Lemonade.
That's right, so refreshing.
Yeah, so I feel good.
You're feeling good with your lemonade.
Yes.
Happy for you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bev, I have a question.
Okay.
Have you ever held a cow tongue in your hands?
No. Why do you ask?
Good question. Why do I ask? Okay, our dad, before our parents separated, they bought like half a cow, right?
I remember.
Mom recently said, I don't have anything to do with these bones and whatever else is in there. So she gives me this bag of frozen assorted beef items. I'm like, well, Rocky can chew the bones, like they're not cooked. Great. So there's beef bones, some big ones with some like meat on them. Then there's this like meat package of like, you know, that butcher paper?
Yes.
It's folded. I pick it up. It says it is a beef tongue. And I almost want to vomit. And then
You couldn't help yourself. You had to open it.
well, I had to open it. So
Of course.
Jamie thought it for me. Because our plan, we're not eating it, just to be clear. We're going to dehydrate it for our dog, Rocky.
Okay, that's cute.
Right?
Sweet, yeah.
And then I opened this package up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the grossest thing I have ever seen in my house. It is huge.
Ooge.
It's huge. And it's thick. And the like tongue is like a cat tongue. It has those spikes.
Yeah.
And it's like leather, hard, thick. So you cut through the meat of the tongue and then you have to like saw through the thick top layer. Took me so long. I am glad I'm not a butcher. My dog is now happy. But I am so scarred.
He liked the tongue.
Oh, thank God he did. I would have died for all that work.
Went through all of it for no reward or payoff.
Yeah, I got a small little blister on my finger from cutting it so much with a
Wow.
knife.
That's because your knives suck ass.
I guess they do. But it was thick and leathery. I don't think any sharp knife could have gotten through that any better than mine. Okay, I'm obviously wrong.
I
need
feel
a butcher's
that's
knife.
a little bit of an exaggeration. I need butcher's knife.
I need a butcher's knife. In my defense, I didn't buy a knife thinking I would have to cut a tongue.
No doubt.
It's fine for other stuff.
Yeah, Mom's just keeping a random tongue in her freezer.
Like, geez. She didn't even know there was a tongue in there.
Obviously.
So to everyone's surprise, I
You
was
should have
stuck
taken a
with beef.
picture of it.
I should have, but it grossed me out so much that I wasn't even in that frame of mind. I mean, I could take a picture of the dehydrated stuff.
Yeah, you should. Let us all know what it looks like, because I don't know that many people have seen a cow tongue.
Up close and personal. It's bigger than my head.
Wow.
It's big.
That is very cool, though.
No. You say cool, I say ugh.
I haven't seen it, so, who am I to say?
No, it's not worth it. The texture really gets me, to be honest, Bev. It was the texture, so let's just move on from that nastiness, okay?
You just had to tell me, but you're grossing yourself out.
Yep. Shouldn't have brought it up.
All right, well, let's get into our case then. Switching gears to talk about Joel Michael Guy Jr. So, Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy seem to have built this perfect little life together. Joel Sr. was a pipeline engineer. He had worked hard for many years to provide for his family and enjoyed simple pleasures like hunting, fishing, and spending time with loved ones. Lisa, on the other hand, was a human resources and accounts payable administrator at Jacobs Engineering in Oak Ridge. So she was Joel Sr.'s perfect match. The couple was known for their shared sense of humor and down-to-earth nature, and they had both made Knoxville, Tennessee their home. Lisa also seamlessly embraced her role as a stepmother to Joel Sr.'s 3 daughters that he had from a previous relationship, and she cared for them all as if they were her own. And together, they had had a son whose name was Joel Michael Jr. I almost said senior, but it's Junior. Junior.
Obviously.
Hey, Junior. Anyways, he was born on March 13th, 1988. And growing up, Joel Jr. was doted on. He was spoiled as he was the couple's only child in the household at the time. And though he was bright, Joel Jr. was socially awkward and was often considered to be an outsider. He showed little interest in forming connections, preferring solitude over socialization. However, in high school, Joel Jr.'s isolation briefly lifted when he begged his parents to let him attend the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts in Natchitoches, a boarding school that was 10 hours away from Knoxville. While there, he formed a rare friendship with a fellow student, Michael McCracken, his first and only close friend. And after graduating in 2006, Joel Jr. spent one semester at George Washington University before transferring to Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. He claimed to be pursuing a career in plastic surgery and lived with McCracken until 2015. Now, despite his education, Joel Jr. never secured a job, and he relied entirely on his parents to fund his lifestyle. But by 2016, Joel Sr. and Lisa, now in their 60s, were preparing for retirement. Joel Sr. had recently been laid off from his job, and because of this, Joel Sr. and Lisa decided they wanted to retire together. So Lisa planned for her last day of work to be on Friday, December 2nd of 2016. The couple decided that it would be good to sell their home in Knoxville and buy a smaller place in Sirgoinsville, Tennessee. However, once they put their home up for sale, it actually sold really quickly, and so they were supposed to be out of that home by December 13th, just a couple days after Lisa's last day of work. And because things were happening so quickly and the couple was set to retire, they decided it was time for Joel Jr. to stand on his own and pay his own way through life. His reliance on them had become a little bit of a burden and would only seem to get worse when they didn't have as much money coming in. Of course, with the assumption that Joel Jr. had received multiple degrees and was on his way to become a plastic surgeon, they thought he should have no problem getting a job with a decent income. However, unbeknownst to Joel Sr. and Lisa, their son had not earned a single degree while in school and was nowhere near becoming the plastic surgeon that he claimed to be. But without knowing that information, Joel Sr. and Lisa decided that they would tell Joel about this new news. And they thought what better time to do it than on Thanksgiving weekend when they could invite the whole family over for one last hurrah in their home before they had to leave. So at 10:30 a.m. on November 24th, Joel Jr., who was actually estranged from his stepsisters and also kind of rarely spoke to his parents outside of financial needs, actually surprised everyone by showing up for Thanksgiving weekend. And now typically when Joel Jr. would show up to a family gathering, he would spend all his time locked in his room, but this weekend was different. Joel Jr. was unusually social. He also gifted some of his childhood belongings to his stepsister's children. Everyone was really confused, but ultimately were optimistic about his new behavior. The day was filled with warmth and nostalgia, and by 10:30 p.m., everyone had left except for Joel Jr., who stayed overnight with his parents. The following morning, Joel Sr. called one of his daughters, mentioning he and Joel Jr. had taken their boat to their new home in Sirgoinsville and were driving back to Knoxville. On November 26th, Lisa was also seen on surveillance footage shopping at Walmart around 12:15 p.m. After that, all communication ceased. Even on November 27th, one of Joel Sr.'s daughters, whose birthday was that day, heard nothing from her father or Lisa, which was a troubling and uncharacteristic silence. By Monday, November 28th, Lisa's absence raised alarms. Her boss, Jennifer Whitted, became concerned when Lisa missed work and her retirement party. When the police initially checked the home, they found no signs of disturbance and left. Frustrated, Jennifer called again to report Lisa missing. This prompted Knox County officers Stephen Ballard and Jerry McCord to revisit the house.
Do you love true crime and travel? Having traveled the world solo the last couple of years and being obsessed with true crime, I found myself researching others who took the same vacations but never made it home. The Last Trip is a true crime podcast covering missing and murdered people that were living their best lives on vacation. I'm your host, Jamie Beebe, and each week I'll bring you on the last trip, taking a deep dive into vacation culture and travel spots, tips on staying alive while traveling, and ultimately recreating someone's last days in paradise. What led to their last trip? What are the hard facts? What is the final outcome? And could you be next? David Snedden was a 24-year-old college student from Utah attending Mandarin classes in Beijing when he mysteriously disappeared while hiking Tiger Leaping Gorge. Chinese authorities said he drowned in the gorge, and U.S. authorities agreed, although his body was never found and his parents didn't believe that. 7 years later, out of the blue, they got a phone call from a former U.S. official who had evidence David is still alive. This case sounds like a Hollywood movie, but evidence doesn't lie. So where is David Snedden? Famous rugby player and Celebrity X Factor contestant Levi Davis went missing in Barcelona last year while on a backpacking trip through Europe. Just days before he vanished, he posted a 15-minute video to his Instagram account saying his life was in danger and people were after him. After he disappeared, several theories emerged. But what really happened to Levi Davis? Join me, Jamie Beebe, co-host of the popular true crime series Strictly Stalking, as I embark on a brand new adventure combining true crime and travel. Listen to The Last Trip wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, my name is Kristen Rigadel, and I'm a licensed insurance broker across Canada and in the United States. But I want to ask you a question. Is life super predictable? No, there's always going to be curveballs in life, but there's two things that I can guarantee you. One, we're all going to have to pay taxes, and two, we're all going to die. I know, it's morbid, right? But it's true. And that's where life insurance comes in. Life insurance is a selfless act. At the end of the day, it's meant for your loved ones in the event you were to pass away unexpectedly. And not that money can ever replace us, but I always liked the idea of leaving some money behind for my brothers, whether that be for their college education, or a down payment on a house, or even just time off of work to grieve. Because the last thing I would want for my family is to have to go to work and pay the bills while they're grieving. And so life insurance gives you the peace of mind that no matter when you pass away, your loved ones are taken care of. With flexible plans, affordable premiums, and coverage that fits your unique needs, I do the shopping around for you so that you can get the protection without the hassle, because taking care of your future doesn't have to be complicated. If you'd like to discuss options, you can send me an email at krigadel15lrxc@wfgmail.ca or give me a phone call at 403-785-7670 to learn more and get a free quote today, so you can live tomorrow with peace of mind.
And from the start, something seemed off. Lisa and Joel Sr.'s cars were in the garage, and despite the house being recently sold, there was no real estate lockbox on the front door of the property. They also noticed that the back doors did not have a doorknob. There was just a hole where one used to be. Peering through the hole left by the missing back doorknob, they noticed some groceries laying on the ground and a weird smell coming from the hole. Which is just a fucking weird sentence.
I know.
A weird smell coming from the hole.
Uh-oh.
God forbid. Oh my God. That's a sign of some trouble.
Yes, it
No
is.
matter which scenario or however you thought that sentence
Where that was going?
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
concerning in all regards. So anyways, the officers gained access with the garage door opener found in one of the guy's cars. The officers cautiously entered the home. The scene inside the residence was anything but ordinary. When the officers stepped into the house, they were met with a stifling wave of heat and a sickly, nauseating chemical odor that permeated the air. The thermostat, located in the foyer near the front door, was set to 90 degrees or 32 Celsius for Canadian folk, making the house extremely warm.
Yeah, 32 is like hot as shit.
Now, just from doing the podcast long enough and hearing enough murder stories, we all know that heat makes the decomposition of a body
Go faster.
go faster. So, I mean, We'll see how it goes, but I think we all know why it was so hot in there.
Predictable.
They also noticed that groceries littered the foyer floor. Perishables such as bacon, sausage, and lunch meat were warm to the touch, and the ice cream was completely melted. A table nearby held 2 wallets containing the driver's licenses of Joel Sr. and Lisa Guy, a purse, a set of keys, vice grips, a sledgehammer, a magazine, and scattered money. What an interesting array of items, hey?
Yeah, there's no real theme to it.
Like a sledgehammer? The fuck?
Let me just put my sledgehammer here on the table with my wallet. Let me get that out of my pocket.
Yeah.
It's really weighing me down.
Yeah. A little odd. A little odd. And it gets weirder because in the kitchen, they noticed a bleach spray bottle, a bag of trash, towels, rolls of trash bags, 3 containers of bleach, a bottle of muriatic acid, an unopened container of baking soda, and a lighter on the floor. On the counter lay a red cellular phone, a pair of blue disposable gloves, and an empty prescription bottle labeled Joel M. Guy. Inside the kitchen sink, soaking in a liquid, was the front doorknob and a realtor's lockbox that had been absent from the front door. On the stovetop, the burner was on, heating a large stock pot with its lid firmly in place. No one dared look inside just yet. So now we have all the makings of like a kill kit.
Yep.
Got a potential murder weapon, sledgehammer, and a
Garbage
lot of
bags, cleaning supplies, that muriatic acid.
trying to like speed up the decomposition process, like another thing.
Mhm.
Are we all thinking like potentially body parts is like getting cooked on the stove, or am I scarred from like hearing that
Catherine Knight.
from Catherine Knight's story? Either way,
It's not looking
ominous.
good. And in case anyone didn't catch on, the front doorknob with the lockbox was in the sink in liquid. So what that means is that someone took the back doorknob and put it on the front door.
To make it look like everything was like
Fine.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of like attempts to cover up
something.
like suspicious behavior.
Yeah.
Now, going on into the dining room, officers discovered more chilling items, an array of weapons and tools. There were guns, boxes of ammunition, and a screwdriver. And as they surveyed the space, their attention was drawn to the staircase, where there was reddish-brown stains, which appeared to be blood, streaked down the wall leading to the upper floor. The upper floor of the Guy residence revealed a meticulously orchestrated yet profoundly disturbing scene. Bloodstains marked the trail, smears on a child safety gate, streaks on the banister, and smudges on the wall at the top of the stairs. The officers followed the blood and they proceed cautiously into the workout room. The Bowflex machine had been violently overturned. The floor was blood-stained. Blood spatter and streaks covered the walls, evidence of a ferocious struggle. And amid the carnage, a sight that defied comprehension stopped the officers in their tracks. 2 severed hands lay on the floor. They were both arranged in a grotesque imitation of a prayer position.
Just hands. Just hands.
That would explain a lot of the blood, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the end of what the officers encountered. They also saw a pile of clothing that appeared to have been covered in blood and cut was strewn alongside 2 black Nike tennis shoes, stained with what seemed to be blood. From the master bedroom, a loud and persistent noise drew the attention of the officers. When they entered the master bedroom, they see plastic wrap laid out on the bed and floor. And following the noise, they head into the master bathroom, and officers see scattered tools and knives all over, and they spot 2 rubber totes where the dismembered remains of both Joel Sr. and Lisa were found soaking in Rubber-made totes filled with a chemical concoction. The bathroom was scorching hot. Not only was the whole house turned up to 90 degrees, but there were space heaters running in the bathroom. Shocked with their findings, they also hear a dog barking from the laundry room. The officers start to worry that someone could be in the room with the dog, so they decide to call for backup and exit the house. Ultimately, backup arrives, and they are able to clear the house, noting that there was no dangerous person there. However, the family's dog, Jake, was removed from the home and given food and water as he had been locked in their laundry room for hours. Officers with the KCSO Forensic Services Unit processed the crime scene at the Golden View Lane residence. The chemicals and biohazards were so extreme that the Knox County Sheriff's Office was forced to call the hazmat team to assist. The forensics unit worked tirelessly, processing the horrific crime scene throughout the night and well into the next day. And what they found painted was a gruesome scene. Some of the items that they ended up finding was an empty bottle of crystal drain opener labeled Lye 100%, several empty 6-pound, 8-ounce containers of number 2 sewer line cleaners, a stainless steel kitchen knife, a pair of scissors, 2 black trash bags, an empty package of Clorox gloves, a 3M dust mask, an unopened gallon container of liquid fire called drain line opener, Flex-On hose packaging, an HDX extension cord, Sharpie markers, safety goggles, 3 unopened bottles of food-grade hydrogen peroxide, 2 glass dropper bottles, a Baco work light, a glass blender pitcher, and a Breville blender base, an empty sprayer bottle. And they also find Lisa Guy's head in the pot boiling in chemicals on the stove.
You were right, Bev.
Damn.
It was body parts.
What is up with people boiling severed heads or body parts?
I don't even know.
Disgusting. They also found 3 gasoline cans from the garage that were each filled with approximately 15 gallons of gasoline, and a bloody shoe print in the garage. And in Joel Jr.'s room, they found a suitcase with gray Banana Republic underwear, a Miracle Blade 3 knife, keys, a cell phone, medical tape, hydrogen peroxide, a knife marked USMC M6 spacers, and a receipt from Walmart from November 26th at 3:55 p.m., which is only 2 days after Thanksgiving. And the receipt showed purchases of rubbing alcohol, antibiotic ointment, pain-relieving spray, and a couple other things. One officer took a photo of the receipt and headed to Walmart to look at security footage to see who bought all those items. And what they found was that a person that looked to be Joel Jr. with his hands bandaged up was the one who bought all of those items. Now, eventually, one of Joel Sr.'s daughters shows up at the house looking for her parents. And when officers notice her, they show her the Walmart video, and she is able to positively identify her brother, Joel Jr. It's pretty ominous to see that his hands are bandaged up at this point.
Oh, yeah.
It does, we know that obviously there was dismemberment occurring. Mm-hmm. And, you mentioned earlier how difficult it was to cut up a tongue.
Oh, yeah.
How hard would it be to cut up a human body and bones and all of that, right?
I was thinking that as I was cutting the tongue.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know it is interesting. But I literally was thinking, wow, people who dismember bodies must have to work really hard for it.
Yeah.
I had that thought because, like I said, I got a fucking blister.
Yeah.
There's so much effort.
And of course you went to dismemberment of bodies. Typical,
of course.
Typical train of thought there.
Thank you.
But yeah, you also know that when people attack with knives or kill with knives, sometimes they can injure themselves in the process.
Oh, yes.
So it's super ominous to see that. And what a way for Joel Sr.'s daughters to, find out what happened to her parents, right? Show up concerned for their well-being.
Just going over there to check on their mom and dad. And
police officers everywhere.
Police tape.
Hazmat team. That's pretty tragic.
That would be the worst.
And I know we have really gone through a lot of the items found, and there's just too much to even really comprehend, but they also found more evidence in Joel Jr.'s room than what we have already mentioned. And that is, they found a backpack that they assumed belonged to him because there were several items with his name on it. And inside there was a calculator, residential gas water heater instruction manual that had been printed on November 23rd of 2016. So the day before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
A book from a co-op bookstore in Baton Rouge, an umbrella, a computer mouse, books with Joel Jr.'s name on it, and a syllabus from a fall 2016 class. And in that notebook, there were pages upon pages of handwritten notes on how to murder his parents and how he was going to get his mother's $500,000 life insurance. And one of the stipulations to get the life insurance was that Lisa had to be employed at the time of her death. And as we know, she was set to retire for December 2nd of that year. So merely days after this, her murder would have taken place.
Yeah.
I know it's gruesome, but I was thinking it's like one of the stipulations was that her head had to be boiled. Like, the fuck? You know? I'm just thinking, like, why this?
Why go through all
Why
this,
go through
like,
all of this?
just, like, really bad stuff?
Like,
why
it's-
not just kill them
Yeah.
and get out?
Shoot them. Leave.
Leave.
Doesn't even have to be your gun. Like, I don't know. But, yeah. This is just beyond what anyone needs to do. And it's either you're pure evil and you wanted to do it and you enjoyed it, or you're really doing everything you can to, like, dispose of the body and just make it so no one will notice. And by the time you come back in, like, a week, like, they'll be disintegrated and you can, like, dump them down the drain or something. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, Bev, actually, it's kind of scary that that's the way you're thinking, because as everyone will hear, we're actually going to go through the notes of Joel Jr.'s book, his detailed description of how he's going to kill his parents. So I think you're going to find some weird similarities between his notes and what Bev was thinking.
It turns out murderers aren't that creative.
No.
You know, they all kind of, like,
Think the same thing.
think the same way. So you do enough true crime podcasts, you hear enough stories, and you kind of can figure out what the fuck a criminal might do.
Yeah, you're like one of three ways for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Has to be.
So,
And in the odd time that it's not one of those three ways, you're like, holy fuck.
yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that was fucking nuts. But like you said earlier, predictable.
But there's some shock value in this, I can assure you, Bevy.
Oh, there's already shock value, Becky. He boiled his mother's fucking head. So, anyways.
Yeah, shock value.
Obviously, you had just said we're going to get into some of the notes that Joel had taken.
Mhm.
And this was all in his own writing. So some of the things I'm going to say might not fully
It's
make
not the best
sense.
wording.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit
Yeah,
janky.
Yeah, he clearly made this list for his own mind. So, but you can pretty much tell what's going on.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind, but we're going to get into it right now. Okay, so some of the notes of Joel Jr. include: get killing knives, quiet, multiple, get carving knives to make small pieces, get sledgehammer, crush bones, bring blender and food grinder, grind meat, get bleach, denature proteins, get plastic bin for denaturation process. Does not matter where they're killed, just get rid of bloody spots to prevent evidence of time of death. In brackets, not the mattress or couches. Get rid of bodies inside house. There in my DNA already there. Open up doggy door to provide entryway. Flush chunks down toilet. In brackets, not garbage disposal. Get plastic sheeting for disposal process. Get hollow point bullets just in case. Will be seen buying bullets, just use computer room gun. Check to make sure there are bullets. In brackets, last resort, he's not alive to claim her half of the insurance money, all mine. $500,000. Flood the house. Turn heater up as high as it goes. Speeds decomposition. Bleach reacts with luminol just like blood. Douse area with bleach. Big sprayer lye trash compactor ? Body gives time of death. Alibi. Don't have to get rid of body if there is no forensic evidence on the body. In capital letters, his fingerprints and DNA.
So what I read a little expert saying that when he says his fingerprints and DNA, he is actually trying to frame his father.
Wow.
Although, let's come back to that. Because you'll see why this sounds absolutely absurd.
Okay. Carrying on. He writes, minimize things I touch throughout visit. Wear gloves and socks to prevent fingerprints and footprints. Drop something down the garbage disposal to break it. Get him on the ground fixing it. Kill him with the knife. Clean up mess from him before she gets home. Kill her with knife. Kill dog after. Crossed out. Leave alive. Take dog with you. Place her in shower. Turn on hot water and point at her to get rid of forensics. Remove her clothes and take them with me for disposal. Place him in plastic bin and use it to get him into the upstairs bathroom. Cut off his arm and plant his flesh under her fingernails. Place her hand with his DNA so that his DNA is not washed away by shower. Use sodium hydroxide to destroy his soft tissue and soften bones for transport. Baste once every hour to accelerate. Flush sodium hydroxide down the toilet. Wash out bin with handheld shower head and then direct handheld into toilet to flush everything out of the pipes and into the public waterway. Douse killing room kitchen ? With bleach. Place hair curler with flammable paper and flammable containers of gasoline in 4 locations. His killing room, her killing room, his bathroom, her bathroom. Wipe down areas near killing rooms and bathrooms. Turn heaters up to 90 degrees to melt fingerprints and dry everything. Set her phone to send me a text message late Sunday to prove that I was in Baton Rouge and she was alive. Leave through front door and wipe down doorknobs. Timer for flammable set for Friday at 10 a.m. so they can't report it. Another page of the notebook had the following handwritten notes. Ultraviolet light shows fingerprints. Check mail before leaving. To get rid of blood, use peroxide and bleach hemoglobin DNA. And another page of the notebook had handwritten notes with the heading Destruction of Bodies and listed the percentage of fat, protein, water, and other compounds in the human body. The last page of the handwritten notes listed the victim's assets as follows. Her assets, her life insurance, $500,000, possibly more with double indemnity, with him missing/dead. I get the whole thing. All her other assets are joint, going to him if missing. Unknown if he is dead. His assets includes all joint property if missing. When he gets all joint property, also gets joint debt. Knoxville's house. Homeowner's insurance possibly, but probably worthless after fire. $100,000 Sirgoinsville house, appraised at $400,000 plus. In brackets, worthless with Renee on property. Then it goes on to say her car, his SUV not paid for, his boat, his old truck paid for, his 401k, $80,000, possibly left after taxes. He could possibly have savings and or investment accounts. Now, obviously, it is noted in this case that a lot of the evidence that was recovered from the victim's residence corresponded to the notes in the black notebook.
Yeah, like the items that were found matched what he had planned to either do with the bodies, how he was going to dissolve them, stuff like that, right? There was that evidence, which is absolutely wild. So you can see this huge elaborate plan. What it makes me kind of think, Bev, is if they were just telling him that they were going to cut him off that weekend, how did he make such an elaborate plan that quickly?
I don't necessarily think that was the motive. That's the thing, right? I don't think it was the motive. I think it was just based on him maybe knowing that they were going to retire and knowing that they wouldn't be able to financially support him in the same way. And obviously him not wanting to actually get a degree and, you know, become a plastic surgeon or get a job. So I think that was probably more so the motive.
Yeah, he could kind of foreshadow what his parents were going to do.
Yeah, but this is just outrageous. Like, this guy, I don't know, has to be...
It sounds like a lot of work.
Evil, man.
It sounds like a lot of work, Bev.
No, it's a fucking ton of work. I was reading it, getting a headache. I was like, how can he even keep all of these like, details straight and what the fuck he's gonna do?
Right?
Like, what the fuck? And how can you even fathom doing that to your own parents and being the one who does it? Like, obviously decapitating your own mom's head, cutting off their hands, you know, and they're just taking them apart. I don't know. It's just like, it's next level, man.
Yeah, it is.
Like, there's greed and there's acts of passion, but this is sicker than like a lot of the shit that we have talked about.
Yeah.
Now, to continue on with the mounting evidence against Joel Jr., when Joel Sr. and Lisa's phones were checked, there were texts that showed Joel Sr.'s financial transactions. And on the morning of November 27th at 9:38 a.m., he received a message from U.S. Bank alerting him that a card ending in 5773 had been charged $1,025 at Bursar Operations. And just 2 minutes later, another message indicated an additional charge of $2,051 at the same entity. And then at 9:41 a.m., a third alert reported a charge of $1,500 to the same card at, again, Bursar Operations. So Detective Wassman later determined that Bursar Operations was in fact associated with Louisiana State University. And this just suggested a link between these transactions and someone who could be familiar with the institution, aka Joel Jr. Now, when looking at an account statement from Lisa's SunTrust Bank, it revealed yet another suspicious transaction. On November 28th, 2016, a check card purchase was made for $3,000 at Submeter One LLC, which was located in Louisiana.
Now, just so that everyone knows, one, I had a little bit of a hard time finding what Submeter One was, but the only thing I could find that it suggested to was like a utility company.
Okay.
So like maybe his gas, electric. I'm really not sure.
Well, that would make sense
Mhm.
because a lot of the financial movements that were happening on their statements and cards were happening obviously in quick succession, but they were also tied to locations in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
And then there was also a $10,000 payment to an apartment complex where Joel Jr. lived. So it would make sense that he is almost like paying for his stay for
Yeah.
months to come, right? Like
Exactly.
getting prepared for that. Because he probably, like, say if his goal is to get life insurance, that could take a while. There could be
Yeah.
issues, pending an investigation or
Mhm.
what have you. So he needed to be set up.
Yeah, he's covering his ass here.
Yeah.
So he has a place to live. He has utilities. He can go to
Exactly.
school,
Yeah. So
live his life like normal, apparently.
right. Which is eerie and greedy and absolutely terrible. You would hope that you'd have a kid and you'd be worth more than your money, for sure. So after uncovering this mountain of evidence against Joel Jr., authorities issued a warrant for his arrest. But the burning question remained, where was he? And based on the crime scene findings and his murder plan, it was evident that his gruesome plan was unfinished. The bodies of his parents had not yet been fully disposed of, and the house had not been set ablaze as seemingly intended. So detectives thought that he might be close by still and decided to track his license plate back to his apartment in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Through surveillance and other investigative methods, they established his movements over the days following the murders. On Sunday evening, Joel Jr. drove through the night back to Baton Rouge, only to return to Knoxville shortly after. However, upon seeing his parents' home surrounded by crime scene tape, police officers, and forensic teams, he immediately turned around and headed back to Baton Rouge. Along the way, he stopped in Mississippi at an Academy sports store to purchase a firearm but was denied. Frustrated, he then returned to Baton Rouge. So why had Joel Jr. initially gone to Baton Rouge?
Yeah, without completing his full plan.
Exactly. And investigators learned that during the violent struggle with his parents, he had sustained several injuries, including deep cuts to his hands. Classic.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, evidence from receipts found in his bedroom revealed that on November 26th, he purchased medical supplies at Walmart to treat his wounds. However, the injuries were significant enough to require professional medical attention. So Joel Jr. drove back to Baton Rouge to have his thumb stitched up and used this opportunity to create an alibi by establishing that he was already in Louisiana. And then once stitched up, he embarked on a second trip back to Knoxville to finish his grim plan. And as we know, he got scared and turned around. Now, the Baton Rouge police worked really closely with the Tennessee authorities to apprehend Joel Jr. And on December 1st, as Joel stepped out to retrieve his mail, officers were able to arrest him. After being apprehended, a subsequent search of Joel Jr.'s apartment revealed receipts that further incriminated him. Becky, I would be shocked if there weren't. Like,
with how this has gone already.
Messiest criminal ever.
Like, you literally kept all the receipts.
You wrote a fucking book
Kill journal
on how to kill your parents
and what assets they have, how you can benefit from them, how you're going to try and frame your father.
Like
just hand them this, like, everything on a silver platter.
The
Thank you,
blueprint
Joel Jr.
of your first degree murder.
Yeah.
Murders. Sorry.
Like,
but-
was his non-degree in bookkeeping? Because I think it was. Any tax man would be like, wow, you kept immaculate receipts.
Yeah, no
Was that
doubt.
a write-off? Absolutely, that gas.
A write-off? I mean,
I'm
that's 5 years in prison. Here's a life sentence.
That's not a gun sound. That's a check mark sound, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that again.
I think it's just not
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, interesting. But yes, so the receipts, Becky, detailed purchases of the chemicals he planned to use to dissolve his parents' bodies, with the first transaction dated as early as November 7th at an Ace Hardware store in Baton Rouge.
Which we speculated earlier, Bev, was his motive to kill his parents because they wanted to cut him off, or was he maybe just greedy?
Now we know.
I think this clearly says.
Yeah, this predates the Thanksgiving night by weeks.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Although one small thing to think of is I heard someone else talk about, did one of his parents tell him even more in advance. So he had time to really fester in that rage. I never found any proof of that.
I think it
But
just
it's
like,
something to think
honestly,
about.
the details of this case kind of like, in my opinion, speak for themselves. His dad gets laid off, right? We like at some point his dad was laid off. He already knows like that money ain't coming in no more,
Yep.
right?
His mom's going to retire.
Yeah, so like I just feel like he is greedy.
Yeah.
He likes the lifestyle that he lives, and he knows that
It's coming to an end.
he's not going to be able to live that same lifestyle anymore. And yeah, I think he put 2 and 2 together with just like his parents' life and
Started
what
this
he
elaborate
wanted
plan.
and started a first-degree murder plan. So yeah. Over the following 2 weeks, Joel Jr. had also systematically bought additional items, amassing everything he believed he needed for this plan. Security footage and transaction records corroborated that Joel Jr. made these purchases himself. Receipts and surveillance footage also showed that on November 22nd, Joel Jr. bought the blue storage totes in which his parents' remains were later discovered. And inside Joel Jr.'s car, which was purchased for him by his mother, by the way, police found pills in plastic Ziploc bags on the floorboard. In the trunk, they discovered a gas can, a meat grinder, a large kitchen bowl, and a mixer, further hinting at his grim intentions.
A meat grinder.
Yeah, he's sick and twisted with this fucking thing. Like, I just don't know, Becky. Would this really be anyone's go-to plan for, like, disposing of a body? Just, like, grind things up, like, smash bones.
Flush it down the
dispose of bodies,
toilet.
like, I can't.
No, it's absolutely unreal. You know what is even more sad to think of? All the stuff that he bought. Like, do you know what? And it's like a heavy-duty meat grinder. It's not just some cheap
It would be
fucking
expensive.
thing. Expensive. And whose money was he spending?
Right.
So his parents paid to facilitate their death, unfortunately.
Out of love, too, which is the saddest thing, right?
What a dick.
What a dick. Now, following Joel Jr.'s arrest, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. Thank you. Once in custody, he refused to speak with investigators and immediately requested an attorney. He was appointed a public defender who suggested an insanity defense, because, like, what else is there, right? However,
Who in their right mind would do this crime, really?
yeah, like, and the evidence. The guy's like, I can't help you here unless you are
Plead
insane.
insanity.
Like, I cannot do anything for
There's
you.
nothing. Like, we got you on camera with the receipts buying those items. Like,
Your hands are cut up. Like, come on, bro. Like,
oh,
man.
undeniable.
Undeniable. And of course, Joel Jr. rejected the idea outright. He showed no willingness to pursue this avenue in court.
You know, there's some say he was like offended that the insanity defense was even brought to the table. He's like, I'm too smart for that, bitches. No fucking way am I insane. I logically thought this all through. Like, he was offended that someone would think that he's insane to come up with this. I'm sure he thought he was fucking brilliant.
No, for sure he did. He thought he had everything
covered.
accounted for, Becky.
What I do wonder is if he had the time, hadn't hurt himself so bad, and could have followed through with every single step of that plan,
Would it have worked?
would it have worked?
No, I mean, like, I don't think so.
Because he still would have kept those fucking receipts.
Yeah, and the book. We know.
I can't handle that.
I know, we know, like,
So dumb.
murderers don't get rid of that stuff, you
No.
know? How many times have their own, like, murder plans been the undoing of them in a criminal case like this? Like, too many to
so
count.
many.
At least I can think of 3 at the top of my head, which is, like, outrageous to be able to be like, that one. Anyways, obviously, as the case unfolded, the collected evidence seemed to portray a premeditated and methodically planned crime. And in 2020, Joel Michael Guy Jr. stood trial for the brutal murder of his parents, Lisa and Joel Guy Sr. Obviously, the evidence against him was overwhelming, but they did need to prove his culpability in the actual crime itself, and they were able to do so by finding Joel Jr.'s blood all over the crime scene. And as we know, he cut his hands in the attack, right? So finding his blood evidence at the crime scene was crucial to prove his culpability in the actual murder itself.
Yeah, like it was solidified. His fate, basically.
Like, as even Joel Jr. said himself, like, my DNA would obviously be in the home, right? Because he lives there with them. But your blood DNA like all over the house on the murder weapons they found.
Mixed in with your parents' blood.
Yes, that's
Suggests
a little bit
something
different.
A little different.
They also found Joel Jr.'s DNA was present on fingernail clippings from Joel Sr.'s right hand, indicating that the two of them had had a violent struggle. And of course, there was, like, as we said, blood evidence, but all throughout the house of Joel Jr.'s. It was found on various surfaces and objects. It was found on medical tape, on several gloves found in the upstairs bathroom. So this just pointed to him being the person that was the one who committed these crimes and no one else.
Oh, yeah, you can't get away from it.
In addition, after his arrest on November 29th, a crime scene technician photographed him while he was in police custody, and his injuries to his body included bruising and abrasions on his right arm, scratches on his right elbow, hands, wrists, and palms, cuts on both his thumbs, including a deep slice on his left thumb, which I'm pretty sure that's the one he got.
Oh, yeah, it was deep.
Bruising and scratches on his upper legs and back as well.
So with all that, like how much damage he actually sustained, you can imagine his dad and his mom
fighting for their lives, right?
Right. And Joel Jr. has weapons, right? Like he has knives all over the place. So the fact that they inflicted that much damage, way to go out fighting, guys.
No doubt.
I know that sounds insensitive, but like I always think to myself, I'll be damned if someone attacks me and I am not like fighting for my life. I'm going to scratch them. I'm going to pull their hair. I'm going to punch them. I'm going to do
whatever you can, right?
Whatever I can to either get away or cause them as much harm as I possibly can.
Yeah, and also maybe, like, as we noted, get their DNA under my fingernails.
Oh, yeah,
so
like,
that,
I'm going to solve my own murder, mother effer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so they put up one hell of a fight.
And despite the fight that they did give to their son, as tragic as that is, their autopsies were very complex. A forensic pathologist noted that Mr. Guy suffered at least 34 sharp force injuries to his back, with wounds that ranged from 1 to 7 inches long and up to 6 inches. He also sustained 5 stab wounds to his abdomen, which caused damage to his liver, lungs, kidneys, and ribs. And he had defensive wounds on his severed hands, which suggested, as you said, that he had fought back. Obviously, his remains were dismembered, as they were found in the tote, with his arms and legs severed and his skin largely dissolved by chemicals, and his head was completely skeletonized. Mrs. Guy, on the other hand, endured at least 25 sharp force injuries to her back and 5 stab wounds to her buttocks. Internal injuries included damage to her heart, aorta, lungs, kidney, liver, and ribs. And as we know, her head was severed and found in a pot of liquid on the stove, separate from her chemically dissolved torso. And both victims were determined to have died from multiple sharp force injuries. During the legal proceedings and the trial, Joel Jr. pled not guilty. And at one point, he expressed a desire to represent himself, but later reversed this decision. He also requested the death penalty, intending to prolong the trial. Joel Jr. believed he could exploit the Slayer statute, which is a Tennessee law preventing individuals from profiting from their victim's death, to access his mother's life insurance money before being convicted or exhausting all appeals.
Yeah, so he thought like the longer it took to get to the trial, he would be able to have access to his mom's money. But that's not the case. That's not how it works.
Right, that's crazy. So he's still, after all of this, knowing what he has done and doing it, still wants her money.
Yeah.
Becky, god dang.
I know, right? He's so horrible.
Now, like, honestly, luckily, the court denied the death penalty, opting instead for life in prison, which I'm just so happy.
Suffer forever.
Yes. Joel Jr. tried to manipulate the prison system to gain solitary confinement, even claiming fantasies of attacking other inmates, but his efforts ultimately failed.
And we know he's like kind of a loner, a recluse. Like he wanted to be by himself. He did not want to be mixed amongst other inmates.
Yeah.
But they're like,
Yeah, they're not going to give him anything
Joel.
he wants. Like,
yeah.
Get bent, buddy.
That's right. Which I kind of find funny because most inmates do not want to be in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
It sounds like a horrible existence.
But if an inmate is trying to manipulate the system and wants that, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be like, nah.
Sorry.
We're not doing this for any favors.
Nope.
Now, despite the complexity of the case, the trial actually only lasted 4 days, and prosecution presented over 700 pieces of evidence, including graphic crime scene photos so disturbing that body parts were blurred for the jury. And the defense did not call any witnesses. Without pursuing an insanity defense, an option Joel Jr. refused, the defense was left with no viable strategy. Yeah, like they got nothing.
No explanation for any of this.
They argued weakly in closing statements, suggesting Joel Jr.'s previous involvement with his family contradicted the possibility of murder.
Like how, and what that means is like he was so happy to see everyone. He was so social on Thanksgiving that they literally said, how can a man so happy and social kill his family? For $500,000.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's how.
Yeah.
For money, for greed. That's how. It is not even indicative to not killing his family. So it's kind of silly. But they're grasping at straws because they got
all they
nothing.
have.
Do you feel bad for those defense lawyers? Their job? I mean,
I don't feel bad. I mean, it's kind of like an easy job. You show up to court, basically do no work at all because you got nothing and you get paid.
I'm just here.
I actually don't feel bad. I'm like, they're probably like, this is like the easiest payday I've gotten. You know?
Yeah, they had nothing.
And they don't have to like feel bad or conflicted about, you know, defending a terrible human because they're like, we know you're going to be found guilty. Like, there's nothing we can do to stop this.
Yeah, they know the outcome.
Rolling. So obviously the jury convicted Joel Jr. on all charges. 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of abuse of a corpse, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole eligibility for 124 years.
124 years, hey?
Yep, that's 2 lifetimes for some, Becky.
It sure is.
However, Becky, with any person who's living in prison for literally the remainder of their entire existence, it goes without saying that they will try to set a motion
and appeal
to
their
be released
conviction.
and appeal the conviction, and Joel Jr. did do that. He filed a motion claiming the police illegally seized his personal belongings without a warrant, arguing that he lived in his parents' home.
Yeah, so he's trying to get off on a technicality, be like, hey, I wasn't issued a search warrant for you to go through my stuff at my parents' house. But they know he wasn't living there. They know that's just a bunch of bullshit.
And either way, there's a huge crime that happened. I'm pretty sure they can look and
get the evidence.
Seize the evidence in the home.
Yeah.
And the judge agrees. This motion is swiftly dismissed, with the judge citing the overwhelming evidence against him.
Yeah, like even if it was slightly true, it's not enough to throw out your conviction, you silly guy.
Yeah, but nice try. Now, obviously, he's in jail, right?
Yes.
Forever. That's happening. But you and I have speculated, as we've read through this case, some of the motives that Joel Jr. had to kill his parents.
Yeah.
And obviously greed is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is he felt like he was losing it all after being told
he was cut off.
He was cut off, right? So kind of like a crime of passion or whatever. But a phone call that Joel had with his best friend, McCracken, who he roomied with in university, might point to a potential other motive, or at least show you Joel's state of mind and the lengths that he's willing to go to achieve his goals. Like, except for school. I'll just say that. Won't go to school, but he'll do some other crazy shit. So Let me read you the transcript about what was said between Joel and McCracken. Joel Jr. says to his friend, "So I've been so in love with you since we first met 12 years ago. And I always got insanely jealous. And it became blatantly obvious that I didn't meet any of the criteria. There has never been any question about that. Physically speaking, you know, I could get bariatric surgery. I could get cheek face implants to give me more facial bone structure so I wouldn't have that round thing, as you call it. That's just sort of been wild fantasy of mine. We genuinely had a very, very realistic chance of being happy if I got around to doing that. I pretty much fucked everything up. Tell me I'm a fucking idiot. Tell me why I did this. I think about you all the time. You're the only good thing in my life." And then he started to cry and said, "You're the only thing I will miss. You should consider me dead." Obviously, Michael McCracken didn't want him as a boyfriend. So, one, he's willing to go to extreme lengths to get the affection of somebody.
That he wanted,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Bariatric surgery, cheek implants, or what have you.
Yeah.
But then also, to actually get the bariatric surgery and the cheek face implants, it would cost money. So, did he want the money of the life insurance from his mom to potentially
alter his body appearance
to achieve his wild fantasy of getting with Michael McCracken? Who knows?
Who knows?
But either way, he's kind of greedy in all ways. He wants McCracken for himself. He wants money to support his lifestyle. And he's really willing to go to gruesome, disgusting lengths to achieve that.
Exactly. And we'll probably never really know the motive, but no matter which way you slice it.
There you go again, Becky. There you fucking go again with those freaking
these
things.
common phrases. I would use them in everyday life.
No matter which
They're
way
just
you
so
slice it.
darn fitting.
God.
But truly, no matter which way you look at it,
Yeah.
he goes about this all wrong.
Oh, 100%.
All wrong.
No, his rationale is
Piss poor.
piss poor, Rebecca.
Piss poor.
And two probably beautiful people lost their lives as a result, and two people who were known for their generosity and dedication to their family. And as a result of Joel's choices, their friends and extended family and their surviving children are left to mourn the loss of their family and parents for the rest of their lives. So I think this case really just like highlights how greed, family dysfunction, and like dependency can have serious consequences. And I think when things like that are going on, they need to be addressed, right?
Oh, for sure.
So either way, this is the devastating case of Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing.
And just your weekly reminder to download our weekly episodes, follow us on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, and give us a follow on our social medias. You can find us at Luminol on the Wall. Can't wait till next week.